It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Episode 26 of Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by Odd Shark. It is Dustin Nielsen. It is Joaquin Gage. Hernan Salas, of course, is here. And once again, we are joined by Tommy Gazzola, handsome Tom Gazzola. Tommy G, thanks for stepping in today.
No problem. Step in for Big Daddy Davos over there on his show. And today it's for our game analyst on the post-game and pre-game show, Matt Cassian. And so, Gager, like, whenever you need a day off, I'll go and, what, am I selling life insurance? Or
yes.
What's the new gig?
You will be. You'll be. There's a lot of work to do, actually.
You got to be a busy guy, yeah.
I'm bad at math, and I'm not people-friendly. So
If you're going to be Gager, you're going to have to start dressing a lot better.
Perfect.
He looks great. He looks good.
He's looking good every episode, man.
Yeah.
Every single episode.
Yeah, he does.
Once again, our presenting sponsor is Odd Shark. You can check out everything you need to know about sports betting at oddshark.com. Scott Hastings from Odd Shark will join us a little bit later on. Also presented to you by Popeye's legendary Louisiana chicken. So delicious. We'll give you a poll question a little bit later on as well. And of course, we'll play a Keep It or Clip It for Sport Clips Haircuts, where it's good to be a guy, home of the MVP experience, which I went to on Monday, and I got the MVP experience. And nothing like having a steamed towel wrapped around your face. It's just that good. Plus,
the like I said before the show, the 2-weeker, it looks good in about 2 weeks. Yeah,
which is what I went for.
Yeah.
I've got to be at Spangler next week. So it's like, if I go on Monday, that gives it about 10 days of growth before I have to be on TV. Gazzola, how would you manage that from a hair perspective? Look at you. Like,
look at that.
God, I asked them for the Gazzola, but they obviously don't know what it is.
It's a mystery.
Mind you, does our hair look... Let's put our heads together here, Tommy. Sorry, Gager.
Well,
I think it's probably the closest I've ever been.
he'd have a good look there.
You look very nice.
Thanks. But where do you come out on, like, if you have a big event, do you get your haircut like 10 days out or what?
At least a week.
Okay.
Gager's right. Like, you want to give it some time to settle in a bit. And Ray Ferraro with this wisdom at one point. The difference between a good haircut and a bad haircut is 7 days. It's a week.
7 days.
Yeah.
What does he know?
Well, yeah, he doesn't have a ton
He's
going on there
betting
right
about
now.
750 down the power alleys.
That's
there,
a good
isn't
point. So if you're wondering where Matt Cassian is, he texted us last night and he said, I'm not doing this stupid Secret Santa, so I'm going to pretend that my whole family's sick, and I'm not going to join you today.
He texted me saying his whole family was sick last night.
Yeah, well, that's what he's trying to say as well. But
no.
are you
I don't
buying
think
that
so.
for a second,
Not
Gager?
a second.
No.
No, he just didn't want to partake in this.
So when we started to talk about Secret Santa, you weren't here for that. That was when it was just Cassie and I and Hernan.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't on board with that idea at all. And then when we were drawing the Secret Santas, he really just seemed frustrated by the entire thing. So I think Hernan, I mean, where do you come out on this? I think he's bailing just because he doesn't want to be a part of it.
Well, I put up the clip yesterday about us trying to do the Secret Santa, drawing Gage's great idea in between there.
It was great. Great
and
job.
if you just look at Cass's face, he was not impressed. So I'm not surprised he's not here today.
Yeah, he's been angry lately.
Yeah.
Like, Christmas has not been
It
brought
hasn't?
out. I think he'd be way more jolly.
Well, we named, what was it, episode 24, Bah Humbug?
Bah
I mean, that
Humbug,
was
yeah.
basically just about Cass.
I go back to you know how he's mentioned like 3 times how his wife does all the decorating, and she sounds like it all matches. Like, I'm thinking if you walk into his place, it's all white, like white lights.
Looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. But then you heard him when he said, "I like driving around the neighborhood with my kids and seeing all the lights." I think he wants a little bit more chaos in his house, and it's just too clean.
So you think he's dealing with some Christmas anxiety?
I think he needs to go sit on a couch somewhere.
I think he needs lights like Dusty put up at his house. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. I couldn't believe, like you said, bad, and I thought, okay, well, I've got some icicles sticking up and stuff, but yours are terrible. It's really bad. Your wife really loves you.
Are you sad laughing right now?
I'm embarrassed, man.
I
Like,
can see you crying in
I
your
am.
eyes.
I'm a little. You're right. I am. I'm. Well, so on the last episode, I said, yeah, my lights aren't very good. My wife said, hey, maybe we could fix those. And I was like, God, don't worry about it. So then Monday night, after talking about it, I went out to the car to pick something up at night, and I turned around and looked. And it was at that moment I realized that I really mailed it in this year doing the lights. Like,
When you tweeted out that picture, I went outside to look at mine, and I go, phew, not that bad.
after I took the picture and I got in the house and I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, this is the worst job I've ever done on lights. And I remember doing it. It was like minus 17. I wanted no part of it. And I was just like, clip, boom. I'll put another clip like 5 feet over there, clip. And at the time, some of the lights, because I keep them outside in the shed, some of them were still frozen. So they were all kind of hanging up relatively close. Yeah. But then when the droop sets in, I mean, it's bad.
It's really bad.
It's bad. If you're listening to this, track down the tweet that I sent to Gage and Cass earlier in the week to get a look at those lights because it's embarrassing. It's by far the worst on the street. I almost went and fixed them immediately.
You know what?
And then I was like, screw it, Christmas is almost over.
I think this point you got to leave them because it's almost like Candy Cane Lane. You might get people coming by, check those out.
Wouldn't that be the worst thing ever? Let's go to Candy Cane Lane, and then on the way home, we'll swing by the West End and check out the worst lights in the city.
Wow, that's
See
awesome.
this, kids? Dustin Nielsen.
Ooh, look at Nielsen's house. Mom, can we take a picture by Nielsen's house? No,
God.
it's embarrassing. I thought I salvaged it this year because I went and bought the red and green lights to put in. Yeah. But it didn't help. It was no good. All right, so we do have a Secret Santa exchange. Tommy, you were kind of just thrown into this. Eh?
I got something for Gager.
Wait.
And
we're supposed to guess who got who.
Got it.
Oh.
Tommy, we spent all this time trying to make it secret.
Well, all right.
Tommy ruins Christmas.
I gotta go see you guys.
Tommy, let me make a note of that.
That is it.
Tommy ruins Christmas. That could be a good episode name.
I got something for somebody.
You know who loves that just happened? Cassian.
Yeah.
Because he hated Secret Santa
Yeah.
anyway.
That's okay.
God. That's tough.
It better be good.
Well, let's do gifts right now, Hernan. Can you?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So how does this work now?
I need to preface this too. I was told that the gentleman that I'm filling in for today did get this specific individual something,
okay.
and he will bring it to you. But I got you something that could be a respectable and practical
So
placeholder.
whoever got Cass's, did they give it to Tommy?
Yeah,
Does Tommy get it?
I mean, that's how it works, I
I'll
guess.
open it and pretend I'm Matt Cassian.
Okay.
Well, then you have to yell a lot about Star Wars, which we will get to today because I'm going tonight.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, you got
I'm
that
going 8
special.
o'clock tonight.
Don't spoil
Well,
it.
wife and I are going to go for a little Bubba Gump, and then we're going to
really?
go to the movie at the mall. Yeah, have you ever been to Bubba Gump?
No, I never have.
Really?
No.
Oh, it's definitely worth checking out. Ooh, so that's for Cass. Okay, now we have to guess. So, Gager, you know that yours is from Tommy/Cass.
Yeah, so I'll just.
So we'll open it up. Let's see what you got there, bud.
What did I? Ooh. Some Gong Show mitts. Actually, that's very thoughtful. Thanks, Tom.
I've seen those mitts before.
Yes. I don't
very
want
nice.
these soft hands to get cold, and
Yeah.
I don't want dry skin on those hands, Gager.
Blueberry and chocolate chip.
Those are actually pretty nice. Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you very much.
All right, Tommy, open up Cass's there,
Well, there's a reason.
and then you have to guess who that's from.
I'm probably behind this thing. How are we going to know that?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to have Tommy can guess who it's from, and then we'll tell him that he's probably wrong, and then what is this?
Wow.
What is this?
Does this matter?
What's that?
Does this matter? Is this just the
I
cover?
think that's just covering the top of it. What do you got there, Matt Cassian?
Bottle ring toss.
Wow.
Oh, actually, you know what? My buddies in Fort Mac
excellent.
play this all the time.
Ooh.
This is a really fun game.
Matt's going to enjoy this.
Yeah, that'll be great.
That's great.
Okay, so who do you think it was from?
Joaquin.
He's right.
Oh,
Well, no, the reason behind
that
it
kind of
was-
ruins everything. You know?
So Hernan got me and I got Hernan, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Secret
Sorry about
Santa's
that.
Secret Santa's kind of shitty. It has to be better with that. What did you get there, Hernan?
Yeah, let's see what I got.
Let's see what you
Oh,
got.
and you too. And I was just going to buy one too.
Really?
Yeah, and it's an Oiler one. Wow.
Oh,
Black
nice.
Oilers toque.
Nicely done.
With no
Very nice.
This is very nice.
with no pom pom.
Yeah, I want to kind of show it. But
Here, throw it over here. I'll hold it up. There you go.
That
It's
is
a nice
very
little
nice.
black Oilers toque
Nice, I love
for
it.
Hernan, who does the post game show on TSN with Tommy G.
Hey, the black on black with the hats and the knit caps,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
our American neighbors call those, really good look.
That's
like
why
it too.
that's what I thought. And then I loved it even more coming in today and seeing Hernan wearing a black toque.
Yeah.
And this one's been around for. It needs to go away.
My,
I nailed it.
I bought a what is it? I think it's a Red Sox hat, like a Boston hat for my
Okay.
son, but his name's Bodie, so it starts with a B. But it's that black on black. It looks awesome.
Once
Really
again,
good.
Yeah. Good
did
call.
you name your kid after Point Break?
Yes.
I love that. I love hearing that every single time.
It's a little
That's
tight
good.
there,
All right,
Dust.
what do we got there? Spice box
Oh,
whiskey.
nice.
That's what I'm talking about. Thanks, Hernan.
Wow. Hold on a
God,
sec.
I got this before too. I'm gonna have some right now because what's one code of conduct we have? Can't drink before the podcast.
Yeah, no one said anything
Nobody
about
said
drinking
anything
dirt.
about
Oh.
after the podcast. Have you guys had this?
I've been up for 15
Have you had
hours.
Spice box whiskey?
Doesn't matter. Yum, yum,
I
gimme some.
I did my homework. I asked about 3 of your coworkers, what does Dusty like to
Yeah,
drink?
Lieutenant Air got me the exact same
Oh,
thing.
nice,
This
nice.
stuff is delicious, boys. You got to try it. Have a little sip of that.
Did you see what I got Eric for his 6 o'clocker stag?
No, I
this
saw
morning?
you got it. Yeah, you got engaged while I was gone.
Tahiti treat.
Yeah, what's that?
The worst soda of all time.
Yeah,
Say-
what
say-
are you putting it in? Coffee?
Oh, yeah. Say when.
Is this good in coffee?
It's good in anything, man. This stuff you can just sip straight. What do they say? On the rocks. That's
So the
something you
reason
can
why
try.
I got that for
A
Cass
couple of those cups are pretty gross, Tommy.
they
is
are nasty.
remember when he was saying the he plays that game with his
Oh, that
wife's
smells good.
family, the ring toss
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. So I got that.
Oh,
and
man, look
plus,
at this guy.
He doesn't. It'll get him back on the sauce, right?
Yeah,
With the
that's right,
beer.
'cause he wants to
So,
be drinking.
Cass, if you're watching this, you're welcome.
You're back on the sauce.
You're back
Cass.
on the sauce,
You got
Cass.
10 months to get hammered before sober October or whatever it is. It rolls in again. Well, hey guys, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry
Hey,
cheers,
Christmas.
Hernan.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot,
So
buddy.
loud.
Tommy, thanks for being here.
What
Cheers,
episode is this?
cheers to Cass.
26?
26.
Wow.
26 episodes. We haven't even talked hockey yet. We've been going for like 12 minutes. But that's okay. We do have lots of stuff to talk about. But good little gift exchange. Yeah, it was nice. Tommy, you should keep that.
You should keep that, Tommy.
Or what you should do is trade that to Cass for what he was going to get Gager. And then see
You
what
mean
happens.
nothing?
Yeah, well, I hope
Oh no, he said he
something.
got something for you.
Or with your new girlfriend, you can play the ring toss.
But is that official?
No,
Oh,
didn't happen.
it did. Oh, so
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say maybe Cass's wife has a younger sister. You know.
well, I thought you just started something new, didn't you?
Yeah, but
Backfired?
it backfired? Man.
Did you go on one date and then that was it?
Yeah,
Just wow,
awful brunch.
an awful. What was so bad about it?
Everything.
did you interrogate her?
No, we're gonna leave it there.
Oh wow.
I've
Okay.
got
All
a
right,
book.
Tommy.
I should. If I knew it was, I would have bought you a book on how to pick up women.
That's not the problem.
Hey, Gager wrote that book.
Yeah.
No. This book is.
Jokes on you. I don't know how to read.
What you should do, Tommy, is get her tickets to Oilers games so she can bring a friend and they can sit there with all the wives.
Honey, I didn't mention it.
Yeah.
Don't date former players' wives. By the way.
You did that?
No, I'm just saying. Don't do it.
Oh, okay. That's not who she was, right?
Just one of them.
Oh my goodness, Gazzola, you greaseball.
Which one?
I won't say.
Was the player still on the team?
No.
Oh, well, then that's no
And
big
they were
deal.
done.
Yeah, so
obviously.
what's no big deal? That's
You
fine.
dated his ex-wife?
Yeah.
Wow.
She was hot,
Well, yeah, that's.
expensive.
Was it expensive?
Oh man, loved it though.
Yeah, but you're on like a 3-year deal worth $9 million, right? So you can probably keep her going.
Yeah, I
Well,
need
you have to
sponsors.
tell me off air here.
Yeah, we got to get the more of that story. Mind you, on a podcast, you can say anything.
Trust me, you can.
All right, we're gonna have Trevor Kidd. He's going to join us a little bit later on. Scott Hastings is going to join us in, I don't know, like 5 minutes. We'll catch up with Hastings, and then we'll go to Trevor Kidd right after that. So let's hit on a couple of the stories around the National Hockey League. We discussed it on Monday, and shortly after we discussed it, Taylor Hall was actually traded to the Arizona Coyotes for 3 prospects, a first-round pick, conditional pick that could end up being another first-round pick. Gage, your thoughts on what the Coyotes gave up to get him, and do you think it ends up being worth it for them?
I was very interested in the game he played, so I did watch that first game.
Yeah.
And he looked good. Like he does add another element to that team. He's very fast. He's very explosive. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. Like I just don't like the
whole package.
The whole package. I think you look at New Jersey, all of a sudden they start winning. It doesn't add up to me a little bit. But great on Arizona. They didn't have to give up much for him. They didn't get rid of any of their prospects. Their
top 2 guys they managed to hang on to. The guy they did give up was like a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
And then a first-round pick and a conditional first if they win a playoff round and he signs. So
What do you think? You're a fan, Tom. Was it Oh, he wasn't married. It wasn't his girlfriend.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Taylor.
Yeah.
Although I take his crumbs, man. He does well.
I heard it was a full loaf.
Are you making fun of my hair right now?
No. The crumbs of the bread.
Yeah. There's a lot of crumbs to build a loaf. That's what Gage is saying.
Nah, I know. I'm just teasing.
What do you think of the deal?
You know what? I thought Arizona would be a good destination for him from a hockey standpoint. The accoutrement that Joaquin is kind of hinting at, it could be a factor at some point, obviously. But
Wait, what did you say?
Accoutrement.
Yeah.
What does that mean, boys?
Je ne sais pas.
Yeah. Clearly, Joaquin knows. He's speaking French now.
Accoutrement?
Accoutrement. It's
Accoutrement.
like the stuff on the fringe stuff on the outside. The other stuff. But listen, that's something that the Coyotes didn't have. It's like a high impact, high octane offensive weapon to complement Phil Kessel and maybe take some of the load off of Clayton Keller and Derek Stepan. Like Brad Richardson led them in goal scoring last year.
With that being said, I love Brad Richardson.
There you go. So I like it for the Coyotes. The Pacific's wide open, and this is a big statement by them. And if Rick Tocchet can get him to buy in, watch out. Like that's going to be a really solid team. And all of a sudden, Darcy Kemper looks like an elite level goaltender.
It's ridiculous.
Working on picking him up in a hockey pool.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Good
He's
idea.
good, right?
Yeah.
I considering they didn't give up their top two prospects. I like it. It's a good pickup by Cheka, and they're going for it. And good move.
Good
by
for them. Yeah, good for them. We'll see if it ends up working out. That does bring us to our Popeyes chicken poll question. Try Popeyes legendary Louisiana chicken today. The poll question is as follows. Where will Taylor Hall sign in the offseason? Because we're going to go through all this discussion again about where he should end up and who can afford him and where would he fit in. Your options are Calgary, Edmonton, Colorado, and Arizona. Obviously, Arizona, have a chance here to show him that, you're a good fit for us. With you here, we can be a legitimate contender. That's something that they can try to sell in the next few months. Gazzola, let's start with you. Calgary, Edmonton, Colorado, Arizona. That's for the Twitter poll. If there's another team that you like, feel free to say that.
I'll stick with the Twitter poll and play by the rules here. Colorado makes sense. They have the cap space, and that would just put them over the top even more, although they have a ton of horses that are thoroughbreds already. I don't know if he stays with Arizona. I feel like it's going to be just a rental situation. If he really wants to be in a hockey market, it's certainly not the Coyotes, and playing in, the building, they'll show up from time to time, but that's not a hockey market. He wants to win now. That might play a factor, but Colorado makes sense if they could make it work and have the wiggle room to do it, because I think he's going to command like 10+ mil easily.
Yeah, some people are trying to say like, oh, no, he's not worth that, but
how can you say that?
Well, I look at it like this, and I'm not basing this on him being a perennial Hart contender, because I don't think he is. I know he got one. Mm-hmm. But I'm basing it on a UFA who will be, 27, 28? 28 by the time so he's going to be a UFA at 28. So you could give him 7 years, and you've got him until he's 35. It's not like you're getting 36, 37, 38, 39 years.
Right.
And it's not a great UFA class.
No.
This dude is going to have teams lining up, whether you love him or not. That's just how free agency works.
Right.
So, yeah, I think he's going to get paid. Gager, where do you think he gets paid?
Yeah, well, he's a Hart Trophy winner, so he is going to get paid. As for where he's going to land, I do think there's a good chance he stays in Arizona.
You do?
Well, if you look where he's played in Edmonton, New Jersey, bigger markets. I think maybe a little less notoriety in the towns. He might like
good lifestyle there, too.
Great lifestyle. I mean, you saw Ekman Larsson, who arguably one of the top D-men in the league, signed a long-term deal there. And it didn't, at the time he did it, it didn't look like Arizona was going anywhere.
That's true. They convinced him to stay.
So they obviously did something special to keep him. They have Keller, and now they're putting together the top pieces that you need to contend in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Is a goalie, a perennial Norris Trophy winner. Well, could possibly win the Norris, and now you have a couple superstar forwards. So I think the pieces are there for them to do well, and just the that much sun that would convince me.
Right now, what's the poll question at?
Yeah, after 605 votes, leading the way is Edmonton at 37%, Colorado at 35%, Calgary at 15%, Arizona at 13%.
I thought it was interesting that we heard Calgary was kicking around more than people were letting on, so I wonder if there could be something there.
Could we see Gaudreau on the move by the end of the season?
I mean, would it be the craziest thing? Because you could trade Johnny Gaudreau for something pretty darn good,
Right?
And then sign Taylor Hall. I mean, you could if you want. Yeah. That's a seismic shift in your franchise for sure. But you might want to look that way. We got Scott Hastings. All right, let's bring in Scott Hastings from a presenting sponsor, Oddshark. Check them out at oddshark.com. Scott, welcome back, buddy. How are you?
Hey, boys, what's going on today?
No, we're just having some booze, having a little bit of a Christmas podcast here, and all in all, having a pretty good day. You ready for Christmas? Everything organized or what?
Yeah, we're getting there. Got some gift wrapping to do and that sort of stuff, but we're getting there.
I wrapped last night. I wrapped 11 gifts last night.
Really?
Yeah, I wrap hard. Like I focus. Like I don't mess around, and I cheat a lot. I do a lot of those boxes that look like wrapping paper. God, are those money?
I was gonna ask if it looks like your Christmas lights.
No, I wrap way better than those. No, I get it, man. My Christmas lights look like shit. I understand. You should see the tree. Scott, we were just talking about Taylor Hall. Your thoughts on where he landed and what it means for the Coyotes, and if you think it, or how will it impact sports bettors the rest of the way here in the National Hockey League this year?
Yeah, a little bit of a surprise team there. It seemed like a foregone conclusion that he was going to either Colorado or Calgary. Came in late there. I think Florida made a bit of a push too, which really would have been interesting. That's sort of where I wanted to see him go, just for an interest standpoint. But Arizona comes out of nowhere. The team's allowing the second or third fewest goals in the league. So adding some offensive prowess should bode well for them and hopefully get Phil Kessel going. And there's some familiarity playing in the West, of course, playing with Edmonton. The odds shifted a little bit. They went from about 20 to 1 to 15 to 1. So an early buy there on Arizona, but I think we have to just see how he works well with this new dynamic. It's always interesting to see a new player going through a team and how they adapt over time. But it's good to see them do it now before Christmas. This gives 4 months before the playoffs. So look for Arizona to start putting the puck in the back of the net.
Where would you be confident on betting on the Coyotes? Like, would you bet on them to win a division? Would you bet on them to make the final? Would you bet on them to win the Stanley Cup? What level of confidence do you now have in the Coyotes?
It's a tough one. I don't know if they have the depth to win the Cup, especially in that grind. And, their goaltending is fantastic. They shut everyone out or shut them down, allowing 2 or 3 goals a game. And they're just way overvalued to win the West right now. Like they're third on the odds board behind Colorado, St. Louis, and then Arizona at 3. Vegas, who is just behind them, is providing better value, in my opinion, than Arizona. So personally, I find they're almost unbettable where they're at. If you wanted to take a flyer on them for the Cup, I guess it's not horrible at 15 to 1. They'll be in the mix, but I just think they're a little overvalued for my liking.
I recently, this goes against the Taylor Hall trends, but I recently put all my money on New Jersey to pick first overall this year. I mean, what do you think of the? I know, actually, it's probably going to end up being the Red Wings, but what do you think of the Devils from here on out without Taylor Hall?
Well, I think they did the right thing. They got a great haul, lots of draft picks. A lot of them are playing with the Ottawa 67, who are a strong club this year. So I think 3 of their prospects, they're all with Ottawa right now. So, good developmental. They've got some young players. Nico Heischer rocked up for a long time. What is it, 6, 7 years, whatever it is. They just got to figure out a goaltending situation because that has been an absolute dumpster fire. Bringing Mackenzie Blackwood in, he I guess he's okay, but ever since that Corey Schneider trade, they've been hurting. It's weird to see New Jersey not really putting it together. I thought they might take a step this year, but things didn't turn out well to start the season, and now you're seeing your best player get traded away. So look for them to rebuild, I guess.
Scott, what do you like this weekend? Is there anything popping up on the radar? Any teams that you're going to be on this weekend?
Yeah, one of the teams I'm watching right now are the Leafs and the under. Right now they're sort of hitting at 50% since Keefe has been in, a couple unders, a couple overs, but I'm starting to see their totals go down to 6. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago that we're seeing 6.5 almost every game, sometimes 7. So seeing them at 6 tells me that odds makers are starting to see them go low-scoring games. They're playing way better defense and cycling the puck and chewing up a lot of time. So if you can see a line around 6.5 for them against Detroit, I think that might be a good play. There could be a goose egg coming for the Red Wings.
Scott, appreciate the time, man. Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you guys.
There you go. That's Scott Hastings. He's from our presenting sponsor, Oddshark at oddshark.com. A little bit of Taylor Hall discussion in there as well. We'll come back around to the Hall thing with Keep It or Clip It a little bit later on in this episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by Oddshark. It's Dustin Nielsen, Joaquin Gage. Tommy Gazzola is in for Cassie, and Hernan Salas with us as always. We're going to catch up with Jets analyst, former NHL goaltender Trevor Kidd as well. You were saying, Gager, he beat you a couple times, right? We love having goalies on who beat you.
Yeah, no, he was a god in junior.
Yes, he was.
He was him and Corey Hirsch were like the benchmark of great goalies at that point. And I remember when he got traded from Brandon to Spokane, that was unbelievable. That team was so dominant. Like, they had everything. And that was a different time of playing hockey. But Pat Falloon, Ray Whitney, Trevor Kidd and net.
Falloon and Whitney were unbelievable.
They were probably two of the best junior players ever. I remember watching that Memorial Cup with it, and just the layers that you had to go through to get to Trevor. I remember fondly watching that Memorial Cup, and he was awesome. I also remember I met him. The first time I met him was actually in junior. He did play for Team Canada one year.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep.
And seeing him in the Canadian jersey in the Memorial Arena in Portland, because they came and played an exhibition.
That was when you were with the Winterhawks?
That was
okay.
And seeing him, I was like, oh God, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah,
one day. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, now you're doing a podcast, and he's going to be on the podcast, so that's great. He does some analyst work with TSN Radio in Winnipeg, and we'll get to him in a second. I'm pretty sure in '94 in the lockout, I think he was on a traveling team that came to Cranbrook.
Yeah, that was the year.
Yeah. And I think he was like Paul Correa, and I think Niedermeyer must have had something to do with it. Anyway, they came to town. I remember because I was playing goal at the time as a young kid.
Yeah.
And I was stoked to see Trevor Kidd play, because he always had the coolest gear. Like, he played all, like, he was all over. Yeah. It was crazy. So that was a big moment in the old Memorial Arena in Cranbrook, BC. It was good.
Well, I played against him when he was with the Flames, and I remember skating up to the red line and looking at him, and he looked ridiculously focused. And like, he looked mean.
And what were you doing?
I was just staring at him. I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, why were you at center? Like, was there a brawl?
No.
Oh, you're just warming up. Okay,
yeah. Yeah. So I like, oh my God, I got to go up against this guy tonight. And it didn't go great for me, but I did manage to stop it.
All right, let's bring in Trevor Kidd on the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast. Trevor, appreciate the time. How are you?
Fellas, awesome. Thanks for having me on. You're going way back here with some of these stories. I'm trying to recall some of them myself here and listening in. Super cool. That one you were talking about in Cranbrook, I think that was. I agree with you. It was. There was a lot of guys that came to Cranbrook.
Oh, it was
for that
great.
game, and I remember. I want to say it was Greg Adams. And Greg Adams' dad, I believe, was the guy that put that together. But he had put together quite a crew. I remember the Niedermeyers were up there. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good. Did you guys travel? Like, you must have gone quite a few places, right? Because that wasn't a one-off, I don't think.
Yeah, you know what? You're making me good. Test the memory back. It was a couple games, but no, now that I haven't thought about that game in years, and but I do recall that was a lot of fun, and I do recall. I mean, fun for the fans and fun for us players to be in those environments. But I remember having some drinks afterwards with a bunch of the guys. But I do recall the Niedermeyers and having. Spending some time afterwards with those guys. That's great. I mean, just as I said, you've recalled a memory here that I haven't thought about for a long time. Super cool.
Trevor, Joaquin Gage, Two Guys in a Goalie podcast here. Trevor, I just wanted to say, I know we talked a few months ago when we did the hometown hockey out in Enoch, and it was a pleasure to meet you again. And of course you're one of a kind, and I like talking to you because you were one of my idols growing up, and it's surreal for me. Actually, I really,
Gage is
I
getting
really
emotional
appreciate
here.
it.
I love it.
What is
it's
going
Christmas.
on?
I've been well. This is what happens when I start drinking.
Yeah, Gage just had one shot of whiskey.
But
The
Trevor,
rum and eggnogs are flowing. I
no,
like
it's
it.
it's coffee and spice box. So yeah, it's a little bit of poison.
That's good.
But can you tell us about, like, one of the hardest trophies to win, obviously, is the Memorial Cup for a hockey player. What was it like when you did go to Spokane and going to Quebec and winning that tournament and winning that Memorial Cup? Can you just explain to the feeling and knowing that it's a select few that can win that trophy?
That whole experience, and I would say even before getting to Spokane, guys, when I was in Brandon, and Brandon for sure, it put me on the map. But I mean, it put me on the map for a reason that arguably a team that, I mean, we were giving up. I mean, a good night was allowing 40 shots. But, I mean, I was facing, anywhere between 40 and pushing 70 shots a game. And it was something. And so, I mean, Brandon put me on the map, but I mean, that was just every game was a survival type situation. And so, I get traded and again, put me on the map with, a couple WHL All-Star games, was invited to a World Junior camp, played in a couple World Juniors, well, 3 of them to be exact. But I mean, that all comes from just getting recognized from facing so many darn shots out in Brandon. Now, listen, I get traded from Brandon to Spokane. Kelly McCrimmon and Tim Speltz are very close. They're still close to this day. Spokane is in Brandon playing. I play that game. After the game, upstairs over pizza, get notified that, listen, you've been traded to Spokane. Appreciate all your service, Kidder. You're going to a new club. Get home to your billets here. Have a good sleep. They're waiting for you. They were going to leave tonight. They're going to stay here tonight. Please be at the bus at 7 o'clock in the morning. They're traveling back to Spokane. Thank goodness at that point in time, I had played some hockey just in Manitoba with Pat Falloon. And so knew Pat, jumped on the bus the next morning. Those junior days, there was no bunk beds or anything like that. So, slept on the floor for a bunch of different hours, got to Spokane. And that was, guys, now the expectations are totally different, right? You're not losing hockey games 4-2, getting outshot 60 to 20. You're now expected to win hockey games, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. And it was lucky. Brian Maxwell was the coach. Learned a ton from this guy, former Winnipeg Jet guy, and Stern. Different coaching moments. Being a team player, being when I say team player, being more of a leader in the dressing room in regards to what my roles and responsibilities were outside of just stopping pucks. And it was a ton of fun. I mean, certainly a short period of time, but I'm so thankful of being in that environment as it led to a pro career. I look back on that time very fondly, just in a total change of dynamics and expectations now from the goalie position. Rolling through the playoffs. We had talent to win games, guys. Patrick Luna, Ray Whitney.
Those guys were studs.
John
Not
Glenn.
bad.
These guys could put the puck in the net, but certainly through that, there was games that were close. If you recall back in those days, it wasn't a best of 7; it was a best of 9. Some of the first 2 series that we played. So, we rolled through the playoffs fairly easy. I know we lost. We lost one game to the Seattle Thunderbirds, and I recall that game. Us not taking it seriously. There was a whole learning lesson there involved that we had to kind of a reset midway through the playoffs where we're getting full of ourselves and not taking the preparations as serious as we should or could have. And we got burnt on it. Maxie was very good in bringing it back in and doing the reset. And ultimately, we win the WHL. We go out to Quebec and play in the old Coliseum. and Felix Potvin is there. And at that time, Felix Potvin, he was, one of the guys that I was competing with, not only with World Juniors that happened earlier in that year, but just a guy that was up and coming. He was, Toronto Maple Leaf draft pick, all those sorts of things. So it was just, it was just a great experience. It was a lot of fun, but I put, again, being repetitive here, that whole time span, and it was short, about 4 or 5 months. I certainly take a ton from that experience as it relates to now going and playing as Team Canada, and then ultimately turning pro.
After junior, you had a chance. You and Gager, you were on the national team for what? Did you do a season there?
Yeah, that's the only thing that Trevor and I have in common.
You got a season with the national team.
Yeah.
And Trevor he played 28 games. I think, was Sean Burke with you on that team? Were you guys the two goalies there? What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was lucky again. So the junior career, pretty much by the time I was 18, it had accomplished, as I mentioned, played Brandon Spokane, the 3 World Juniors, and at that time, the Canadian Olympic team was still something that was a year-round program, right? It was based out of Calgary. Father David Bauer, the arena there, they had a whole locker room situation, weight room. Like, it was a year-round program that was based on, certainly we traveled a ton, but that was our home base. And I was lucky at the time. Dave King was the coach, but my agent, Herb Pinder out of Saskatoon, and I want to say, guys, you're going to test my memory game. Lake Waskasiu, these guys had cabins beside each other. And so between Herb and Dave and the Calgary Flames, conversations happened, and I was brought in to the Olympic team, and it fit. I mean, certainly I had to earn the spot. They weren't going to give it to me, but earn the spot, and now sharing the net with Sean Burke. Here's a guy with his history with the Devils. And we had a few guys like that were in this in-between stage, using the Olympic team to, as a stepping board or a springboard to something else, whether it be a contract dispute or towards the end of a career trying to extend it in the National Hockey League. Was great. I mean, come on, to learn to be 19 years old and playing with some, bona fide NHL guys, never mind Sean Burke. Great experience.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's
Gager, how'd you get on that team?
Tom Rennie phoned me.
Was it Rennie?
Recognized the skills.
Rennie knew,
Recognized
right?
the skills,
Good for Tom.
Yeah.
You know what? That's why he's running the whole thing now.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, was Wally Schreiber on that team?
No, he was before me.
Oh,
jeez.
Hey, Trevor, you were kind of one of the first guys to get designs on your pads with the checkers. Did you play a lot of chess as a kid, or where did that idea come from?
Well, you know what, and that's, Brian's is still like that, guys.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's Vaughn. Brian's is one of those companies, but Brian's is always, going back to the day, been creative with their gear. And I know I had the Flames there in Calgary when I was traded to Carolina. Just talking with the guys in the shop there, what are we going to do? And goaltending equipment is one of the cool things. You don't really see our heads necessarily like anybody else that's on the ice, but we're allowed to be a little bit more creative, whether it be our helmets or our gear. When you start talking about CCM, you start talking about Vaughn. There's a corporate kind of marketing thing that they like to have, a synergy from what guys are wearing in the NHL and what's being sold in the local sports shop, whereas Brian's is a little bit different that way. And so they came up with, and Carolina, the checkerboard thing is, the checkerboard is actually the Carolinas. That's the hurricane warning flag.
Oh, no.
Basically, is a checker. So that's where that came from. And it was a cool design. Loved it in Carolina. Was traded to Florida. I just stayed with it just because it kind of became me, similar to the skulls that I used to have on my helmet. So no, it's fun. I still have. I didn't keep much in my playing days, but I still have a couple pairs of Carolina Hurricane pads that have that checkerboard. And I'm lucky to this day. I've been in my basement. I kept all the helmets. Every time I got traded,
Yes,
I didn't have a helmet repainted. I kept that lid, and so I have a neat little display in the bar area of my home here. And so some good talking points. I was, a lot of times when you're moving through a career, you don't stop and smell the roses, or you don't think that it's ever going to end, and you don't appreciate some of these little smaller details. So I was lucky that in moving through a career that I kept some of these things, and one being the goal pads as you talk about, and the other being my helmet.
Trevor,
cool.
Tom Gazzola here from TSN 1260. Since we're identifying ourselves,
Gager likes to do that. Yeah, Gager likes to do that.
I like to do that.
It's a good reset, Gager.
Trevor, I'm a nobody, so I gotta pump myself up whenever I can.
Along the lines of the goalie gear, you were ahead of your time, obviously, and like I always remember, Dusty brought it up. Like I always had the cards, and I was like, "Oh, Trevor Kidd has."
He just looked
the
cool,
pads.
man.
But I remember talking to Curtis Joseph when he got the Cujo pads with the dog mouth, and he's like those things were so heavy. I had to take out so much from them. By the end of it, they were like street hockey pads. Did you ever run into that? Because you were one of the first guys to kind of implement that different look with the pads.
No, you know what? It never really had anything in regards to the weights. I mean, I know, and guys, I was one of the first things. We talk about goaltending equipment being made smaller. I'm a part of that picture. When I was traded to Calgary, or traded from Calgary to Carolina, when I got to Carolina, I'm going to throw a name at you here, Pat Jablonski.
Yes.
If you remember that.
Former Hab and Blue, yeah.
Right catch.
Right, okay.
Yeah, he's a righty, that's right.
He was a guy, and I didn't even know this existed. Now, you think too, and around that era, you remember Garth Snow, and he looked so big in the net, and everybody was starting to complain about his shoulder pads and whatnot. Well, I got to Carolina. Pat Jablonski had pads and foam and things around his gear, his pants, the shoulder pad. Like, I couldn't even believe it. I go, is this happening? This is allowed? This is what's going on? Because certainly I was unaware of that in Calgary. And so, Pat shows me all these different things, all these different pieces. He starts with, well, you can't beat them, join them. And if this is what guys are doing, you talk about weight and goal pads. My pads, I didn't feel were heavy, but I added pieces to my pants, to my arm pads, these blocks of foam. So my pads were, something that I didn't consider heavy. I added weight to different parts of my body, and then within 3 or 4 years after that point, the league got a hold of it because it was getting out of control the way goalies were adding different pieces, foam and otherwise to their body to make them look 2, 3, 4 times bigger than what they should. So that was interesting. I know nowadays I make a comparison to the pads that I do have, and I do need to make a change here. You play some alumni games every once in a while, and I'm telling you, the gear now is so light. Like, I pick up a pair of pads now at the sports shop, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? This is what this stuff weighs." Like,
I say I'd still be playing.
No, I'm telling you, it's true. And I mean, the evolution of the position. You can talk about gear, you can talk about the science. To me, the position of goaltending, to me, has been one of the biggest changes in the game in the last 10 years than anything else. A goalie coach 15 years ago was someone you just went and had a beer with.
A buddy.
Let's have a conversation. Well, what's going on between the years? And yeah, they'd help you out with some goalie drills and whatnot. But now you look at the equipment, you look at the weight of the equipment, you look at how the position is taught. There's science involved now. There's angles involved now. There's edges that are involved now. The video, the technology. To me, it's cool to watch and be a part of some of the things that I do with the Jets here, and just seeing what they're working with Brossois and Hellebuck, and how Wayne Flaherty's involved, and they're using guys out west in regards to training and bungee cords and everything else. I tell you, the position, the evolution of the position, and just being brought up now and talking about weight of equipment in my goal pads, I tell you, It's so different.
Trevor, I wanted to get you on because you're doing some analyst work, obviously, for TSN Radio in Winnipeg. It's been such a good conversation.
Screw that. Let's talk about gear.
Well, I know. I'd like to as well. But for all of our friends, did you have any other gear questions?
No, well, just I hate it. Well, I did. I loved gear. Like that's the reason.
I love gear too.
Yeah, it's the best thing about playing goal is the gear. And every year when I see the Oilers or the new guys with their masks and their gloves, I like, there was nothing like putting on a new glove.
Best present I ever got was what I told you when my mom and dad picked me up from school, opened up the trunk, and there was the exact same blocker and catcher that Patrick Wall was using at the time. Cool. The co-host. I was just like, oh my God, this is the greatest day of my life. Like, it was insane. Okay, but no, seriously, I mean, the Jets, we talked about the Jets at the beginning of the season, and I liked the Jets. Like, I want them to have success. I was worried about them this year. But they look just as good as
the only one.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, how do they look just as good as they used to when they basically lost, 2/3 or 5/6 of their blue line?
No, it has been something to say that. You look at the league as a whole. I believe 2 nights ago they were 8th in the league, and certainly were humbled by you guys had the Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, they're good.
Yeah. No. Like this team is something else, and that was new for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, they were coming off a kind of a 4-game string where they faced the Anaheim Ducks, they had the Detroit Red Wings twice, they had the Flyers with all their injuries, and then the Carolina Hurricanes come in, and I tell you, like I haven't seen a team. And then we talk about a team. Each team has, you guys have Connor McDavid. This guy's fast. Right, and you need to worry about your gap. You need to worry about your angles with this guy. But I mean, the Carolina Hurricanes are throwing 3 lines at you, 9 players that play so quick. If your gap isn't perfect, if your sticks aren't good, if you're not, closing space, if your awareness is at a complete other level, needing to know what you're going to do with the puck, getting your feet moving when you receive a puck before you even get going was something completely different that the Jets haven't seen in a while. So with that being said, listen, you go back to the training camp and you mentioned, you lose Ben Sherratt, you lose Jacob Trouba, you lose Tyler Myers, then you lose Dustin Bentley. The day before training camp, most teams would be, they'd be in the cellar here for the duration of this hockey season. So I got to give, it took some time. Listen, October was not pretty for the Winnipeg Jets. It took them a long time to figure out, chemistry and whether it be, Josh Morrissey and his expectations now and being the stud on the back line. I mean, this guy's evolution from just getting into the league 3 years ago to now being basically the Winnipeg Jets bona fide number 1 guy. I think that took some time. He's found a neat little chemistry now with Tucker Poolman, Neil Pionk in the trade with Trouba. I think is starting to come into his own. To me, they're defending better. If you just look at the defense as a group, it's taken them some time, as I mentioned. But whether it be inside positioning versus outside positioning, defending as a 5-man unit, finding chemistry. It has taken some time, but it is a lot better than what it looked like or what everybody thought it would be. The biggest difference I think now that they're still working on is, when those guys that I mentioned, Bufflin, Trouba, Myers, is when you talk about offense, right? And a big part of the Winnipeg Jets offense last year and for the last 3 years is how, Dustin Bufflin spent just as much time below the top of the circle in the offensive zone as Blake Wheeler did, right? And Myers would be a part of that, and Trouba would be a part of that as well. So, to me, that has been one of the biggest adjustments is finding the confidence, whether it be a Josh Morrissey being a part of the offense below the top of the circles, Neil Pionk the same way. We can get that, start talking about the power play in that perspective. Jacob Trouba on the power play, Dustin Bufflin on the power play. And Winnipeg Jets power play is something that is struggling right now. And a big part of that is losing those players. So, one of the things that we've been speaking about here a lot in the last couple of weeks is Neil Pionk seemingly starting to find his way in regards to using his shot from the point. And a lot of penalty killers right now, when you look at a penalty kill, and we have the Winnipeg Jets have a great power play in regards to the people, the personnel that are on it. Blake Wheeler, Scheifele, Connor, We know what Laine can do. But when you don't respect the point or that point shot, we've seen a penalty killing system opposition. Their box is really collapsed. So finding that seam play to Scheifele is almost impossible right now. Finding that seam play to Patrick Laine is almost impossible right now because that box is so collapsed. And they're not. And why is it collapsed? Well, it's because there's no threat of a point shot. And so Pionk here in the last 2 or 3 weeks is starting to find a shooting lane, is starting to put a puck to the net from the point. And listen, it's not a howitzer like a Dustin Byfuglien. It's not as probably has the velocity as a Jacob Trouba point shot, but he's finding that shooting lane, letting Scheifele have a redirect. He's letting Connor do some work in front of the goalie's eyes there to be a distraction. And now that's starting to pull out some of those top 2 forwards on the penalty kill. So those guys, now you're seeing Scheifele finding some opportunities to shoot and score. He's got a great tight wrist shot, guys, that he's put the puck in the back of the net here on the power play in the last week or two. Lainie's now starting to find some looks that we've seen going back 2 years ago, going back 3 years ago, where you see that seam pass from Wheeler on the sidewall, finding Laine for the one-timer. So anyways, the back end has improved so much defensively, but they're still learning that, to me, the offense, not learning, but they're finding the confidence to play on the offensive side in regards to a 5-man unit. But Blake Wheeler is another part of this. When you say, what is going on here with the Winnipeg Jets? Obviously, Blake Wheeler moving to the second-line center has really been a change, a dynamic. The top 2 lines here for the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, at any point in time, you're seeing 2 or 3 guys on point streaks. The big test now, listen, and we got the Chicago Blackhawks here tonight. A little change with the Montreal Canadiens. We've got 2 big games against St. Louis. You got the Colorado Avalanche with some big Central Division games. The third line is hurt, guys. The third line has been damaged here. Perreault is out of the lineup. Andrew Kopp is out of the lineup. They don't think Andrew Kopp is going to be back before the new year. And the third line has been doing a lot of good things here, making, playing against the opposition's best, making them play defense. They've been a factor in some of the scoring. So we're seeing Mason Appleton, who was just called up, Gabriel Bork, who has basically been a fourth liner. The fourth line is going to be completely different here. So this is not the perfect. Every team goes through it in a year. The Winnipeg Jets are now going to go through their little spurt here where they have a bunch of injuries, and they're going to have to, do some good things here with that next man up mentality as they start playing some huge divisional games.
Trevor, really appreciate the time, man. This was great. We'll have to get you back on in the new year to talk about goalie fights or something. I think that'd be great too, right? Gator, right?
Best interview ever.
Merry Christmas, man. Thanks for the time.
I love it. Happy holidays, guys.
Merry Christmas, Trevor.
Give me a call anytime.
Perfect. There you go. That's awesome. Trevor Kidd, analyst now with TSN Radio in Winnipeg.
Wow, all our Jets fans. That was in depth.
That was good, right?
That was awesome.
Really good.
Kidd is an amazing analyst.
Holy
he broke that thing down perfect.
Wow, he must have not ever got hit in the head.
I
accidentally
hit you in the head in the minor hockey week kickoff game once.
Did you?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, I probably didn't.
It was like a muffin anyway. It was just a flutter.
Yeah,
so.
it's all right. I think I headed that to the corner.
It was all good.
I just wanted more time with Trevor Kidd. He was great.
Best pads when he brought out the checker pads?
Yeah, that was when you started thinking about what you were going to put on there, right? Like, I can do that?
Yeah.
It was just colors schemes.
I have a question about one of your masks. I think it was your second stint with the Oilers. Were those chainsaws at the top?
It was an oil well drill bit. If you looked at the mask itself,
I never understood.
You got to bring in this mask. I got to see.
Oh no, I don't have that one anymore.
What?
Yeah. But it was. I had a friend of mine. Her name's Catherine. Did my dad do that one? No, yeah. Catherine did a junior mask. My dad actually, who was kind of an artist, he did that.
Really?
But it was, if you looked at it up close, it was really quite intricate and stuff.
It was a cool mask, but I tried to figure it out.
You could see what it is, but from far away, it didn't translate as well as if you saw right up, because it looks like it's got the 3 kind of heads on there. So that's what it was, an oil well drill.
I was a 14-year-old dum-dum, so I couldn't figure it out.
No, well, you were in the oil patch back then. So,
I've been waiting 20 years to ask you this.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big question, big moment.
Yeah, thank you.
Hernan, did you want to get in here? I saw your hand on the
Yeah,
mic
what's
there.
going on?
Oh no, I was just scratching my head.
Oh, you're just scratching your head. All right, relax. Man, that was good. We got to get him back on because he was the first overall pick in the 99 expansion draft. And I didn't have a chance to ask him
was
about it.
he?
Yeah, then he was traded immediately. Thrashers took him first and then traded him immediately to Florida. That's how he ended up in Florida. And I did want to ask him if he ever fought anybody, but we just didn't have a ton
He
of time.
was such a good goalie, man.
Yeah, he was good. And you know when he was talking about how he got to Carolina and put all the foam in his gear? His save percentage that year was 922. It had never been above 904. Yeah, I looked it up. It was 8, and this is different. This is different back then, right? But 887, 909, 895, 9, and then traded to Carolina had a 922.
You know what guys were doing back then too? They were getting like French guys.
Yeah.
They were getting the pool noodles and putting them in their
No,
pants.
they weren't.
Yeah,
Come
and
on.
inside their legs so like when you go down, you got your knees, but there's a gap in your
So
legs.
the pool noodle will come down and
pool-
basically
on
eliminate the
each-
5-hole.
basically on your groins, you would put these pool noodles inside.
Greasy.
Yeah.
Greasy
Wow.
sons of bitches, those French goalies.
Yeah.
All right, let's play sports clip haircuts. Keep it or clip it. Go in there and get the VIP experience, the MVP experience, I should say. I was in there, chatted with the folks who run the place. It's just a great place to get a haircut, man. Like, I really love it. They need more locations around town. Right now, they've got that location down in Ellerslie Landing, kind of close to the Ellerslie Brewhouse.
Did you get chicken after?
No. Yes, I did. I did get some Popeyes
I bet
chicken.
you
It's
did.
it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate two guys in a goalie podcast experience: a
Yes.
haircut and a 3-piece.
All it needs is us there. We got to do
What
the
they should
summer
do,
episode.
they're close enough that they could do a zip line from the top of Popeyes, smack dab right into to Sport Clips.
If they do that, I will do that with a wing in my mouth.
All right, let's play this game. Here we go. I'll ask the questions. You guys give me the answers. The Vancouver Canucks will miss the playoffs. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. I think.
Whoa!
I think
Everybody loves the Canucks on this podcast.
they're in the mix, man. And listen, I know they're in a bit of a dip, and the Pacific is heating up. The Flames have been good. The Golden Knights have woken up. Obviously, Arizona's on fire, and the Oilers are still in the mix. But I still like what Vancouver can bring to the table as a whole, and they're feisty enough. I'm not counting them out, so I'll say they'll make the playoffs.
Yeah, I clip it. They're going to make it.
I thought one of you guys might keep it.
Nope, they're
4 points
they're
out.
They're in for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of time still.
Yeah.
I like them, but they've been struggling lately. The Devils will have a better winning percentage without Hall the rest of the season than they did with him this season. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. I think everyone knows my my opinions of the player, but I think that I watched a little bit of the game,
Yeah.
and I found that maybe they relied on their Hart Trophy winner a little bit too much.
Oh, that makes sense. I mean, yeah,
And,
there's some
they
logic there.
looked more playing as a team, playing as not relying on one player. I think the Oilers getting that conundrum that sometime they rely on their two guys
Yeah.
to take over, and I think you'll see. It's not going to improve them much, but I think you're going to see a lot closer games with the Devils.
Tommy?
Keep it. Yeah, maybe they start to play as a team. That whole situation, sidetracking everything is now the circus around him is gone because he's a marquee player, and now they don't have to deal with the issues of him. Where's he going to end up? That whole thing. It's over with now.
It's Star Wars Day. Go see a movie, you will. No, I'm not very good. I don't have a good Yoda. But anyway, Tommy, are you going this weekend? I'm going tonight. Gager's going Friday and Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cass is going to a V. Wow. I wonder.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder.
Oh.
So Cass has a 7 o'clock. One of his buddies rented an entire theater, and he's got a 7. I bet you he still goes tonight.
Yeah. He'll put a cork in it for that.
God. Put a cork in it. That's a good name for the episode, too. All right. So here's a question for you. We got some Star Wars questions
Ooh,
today.
this is tough.
I know. Even when I came up with it last night, I don't even know if I have an answer.
Decisions hard, or they?
Oh,
Padme
nerd.
was hotter than Princess Leia. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. I love Natalie Portman. She's a rocket, man. Her when she does the rap on SNL.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
This is
That was
not
good.
what she does on SNL.
I
This
know.
is Star Wars
That's true.
related.
In Star Wars lore, Padme is more of a rocket than her daughter, Princess Leia.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Leia was her daughter.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about
Yeah,
that.
everyone's looking at Carrie Fisher now. and
Yeah.
looking at, no.
No. I'm considering
No,
it too.
there is no, besides my wife, there is no hotter woman.
Code of conduct. Don't
As,
piss your wife off.
Yes.
You can't get the golden bikini, the golden outfit with Jabba.
Yeah.
That is top notch.
That was good.
Yeah, that stirred some feelings in me back in the day.
Man, I was watching I've been trying to watch as many as I can. Just like while I'm
Yeah,
like doing
yeah.
other stuff, prepping or whatever, I'll have it on my iPad or on TV. I was watching what was it, Revenge of the Sith, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With little Anakin. Was it not creepy that Padme was hitting on this kid when he was like 10 years old? I was a little perved out by that last night.
Well, the Force works in mysterious ways.
All right, benching Nikita Kucherov. This happened. Cooper benched Kucherov in the third period. Benching Nikita Kucherov was a good call by John Cooper. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. Sometimes you gotta sit your stars down, and he'll come back. Hasn't been playing well. It needs a little reset. Maybe throw him in the press box for a game.
What's he scratching
stuff?
Cooch?
What's in this?
Spice box is
Oh my
35%.
Truth
Yeah.
serum.
Must be what Babcock was drinking.
Keeping it or clipping it, Tommy.
I'll play devil's advocate and clip it. What if it creates dissension among the group? And we've already heard whispers earlier in the year with how tough of a season it's been for the Lightning that maybe Cooper his job might be on the line. So what if this creates a bit of a fracture in the group and they start to lose trust in him?
That's a tough one.
Just devil's advocate.
All right, here's the next one. I've always wanted to ask this question. I'm going to say it. Luke Skywalker was a huge pussy.
Oh man.
He wasn't he? Like,
Yes.
yes, he was.
He
still is.
always thought that I wanted a little bit more testicular fortitude with Luke.
Wow.
He needed to be a little bit tougher for being like he was supposed to be like the chosen.
Exactly.
Well, and yeah, he gets his hand cut off. He's kissing his sister. Like, come on, man, let's toughen up.
Oh, wow, you are harsh. Here's the tough thing, though,
He's
is
way too emotional for me.
we didn't get to see him when he was at his peak, right?
Yeah, well-
we missed all those years. You just have to assume, and they gave us that crappy little backstory.
So you're
in
thinking
The Last
after
Jedi.
Return of the Jedi up until the
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he had that little flirtation with the dark side, and he realizes who he is, and the Emperor tries to get him to come over.
You realize 3 Skywalker movies are coming, right? Like, there's got to
Oh.
be. You have to do the Luke story, right?
But
Well,
like,
yeah, you're right, Tommy. Yeah.
I'll just play devil's advocate.
So you're
I
gonna
think he was a
keep it again.
badass. Yeah,
he
I'll
wasn't a
clip it.
badass.
He might have been when he started, like when they touch on him starting the Jedi and training them. He might have been a badass then, but yeah, he resorted back to being kind of.
He was a whiny bitch in the first one.
He
though.
was.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. But
he was the worst.
A 19-year-old brat.
He was whining when he was with his uncle. He's
Yeah.
just. I don't like that guy. All right, Mikko Koskinen is the long-term solution in net for the Oilers. Keep it or clip it.
Ooh, I was thinking about this actually last night. I hope he is. I think you have to play Mike Smith a little bit as well going down the stretch, but.
But I'm talking like next 3 years. Are you confident with Koskinen?
No, I clip it because I just from personal experience, the skills deteriorate, and we're getting into the back nine of his career, and a lot of times you can get by with just experience, but he hasn't played in the NHL for a long period of time. I hope he can keep up what his current level is, but I think he's going to play good games, but his consistency level as you get older suffers.
Clip it. We just got out of the clubhouse, restocked on some fresh cooler pops, and we're about to tee off on 10 here. So
That's what it is,
Yeah.
I thought you were saying the
Short-term.
spice box was kicking in.
No, it's good stuff, though.
Yeah, no, it is good stuff. All right, Milan Lucic should never shoot when on a 2-0 with Johnny Gaudreau. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. that was bad. Tristan Jarry probably never faced an easier 2-0, and I say that with utmost respect professionally for Milan Lucic.
But not that
was
much.
Just awful.
No, I think
That was awful.
you're really Tristan.
Tristan Jarry.
Tristan Jarry has one of the quickest sternums I've ever seen. With his save. So yeah, he should give that up.
That hit him directly in the knee on the pad.
Yeah,
Low
it's
on the ice. Like he was just shuffling over.
Yeah.
With that being said, do you want Luch overhandling it and trying to feed it back?
if you want to
that's on Johnny Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau should have just kept that.
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau should have just walked in. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Almost treated him like a defender. Like,
yeah, pretty
get
much
off me.
like fended him off. Put a hand up. All right, last one. The recent Star Wars trilogy wasn't necessary. Keep it or clip it.
Oh, clip it. It was necessary.
Was it really though?
To reboot everything, it's a perfect timing. Like, look, last night we have The Mandalorian.
I don't mind The Mandalorian,
but it kicks off this last. Everyone's been watching for the past 6 weeks. This Mandalorian. All the Star Wars geeks, myself, I'm included in that.
I've watched it.
I am so excited for this weekend to see this last installment of Skywalker. Because who didn't sit when they were a kid in the playground and say, "I'm Luke," with
I didn't. He was a huge
didn't.
pussy. I was Han Solo.
Han
That's who I
Solo
was.
all the way.
Well,
yeah.
there
was
were
a Ninja
there were
Turtle.
girls saying they were Princess Leia, so I was trying to kiss my sister. I'm an only child, by the way.
Which Ninja Turtle, Tommy?
Oh, Donatello. I don't know why. I like the bow staff, I think. And I played. I had.
Why are we talking about Ninja Turtles all of a sudden?
Because
Did I miss
you guys were Luke in the playground.
Oh,
I was
okay.
Ninja Turtles. Donatello, because if you recall,
He
the
had a
first
staff, didn't he?
Nintendo game, yeah, he had the bow staff. The first Nintendo game, he was the best Ninja Turtle to play as on the original Nintendo Ninja Turtles game.
You know the bow staff's just a stick, right?
But it's like
It's not that good.
flame tempered with fiberglass.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's keep it or clip it for our friends at Sport Clip Haircuts, where it's good to be a guy. All right. So what do we have for a name here for this episode? I've got a few things. Did you keep any tabs on anything?
I
Hernan,
did,
or-
Tommy,
Longest episode ever, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
our longest episode ever. Yeah.
Tommy ruins Christmas.
Okay. I've got three, which you did. I've got Tommy Ruins Christmas. And then I've got, what's it, escortement. What's that? What was the word?
Accoutrement.
Accoutrement. That might be too long. And then I've got Kiss My Sister as well. So we go with Kiss
Glad
My
I don't have a
Sister or
sister.
Tommy, right? It's Christmas, right? Let's go with Tommy Ruins
Yeah,
Christmas.
yeah,
Yeah, because you
Hey,
did. You really screwed up Secret Santa.
Listen.
You sat down for Secret Santa and you said, here's what I got, Gage.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it works, man.
Yeah.
Fiddlesticks, first of all. Secondly, when we did the last time I was on this wonderful podcast, you don't know how many buddies and people just came up to me and they're like, "Hey, HW,
H-Dub.
Yeah.
H-Dub.
filling in for Big Daddy Davos over here." Even somebody was texting in HW, and I'm like, "Who the hell are they talking to?"
Yeah.
Eric's like, "I think that's you." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got it. I
Hey,
got it."
You're welcome. Marshall says you're welcome.
For our first-time listeners, that's huge wiener.
That's what it stands for, yeah.
Yeah, put that out there. Tell the ladies.
Hey, it's all right, so that's going to do it. Tommy Ruins Christmas, episode 26. Thank you very much to our presenting sponsor, Oddshark, for all your betting info needs, oddshark.com. Of course, Popeye's Louisiana Chicken. It's legendary. Try it today in Sport Clip Haircuts, home of the MVP experience, where it's good to be a guy. For Hernan Salas and Tom Gazzola and Joaquin Gage, I'm Dustin Nielsen. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you very
Merry
much
Christmas.
for listening.
Merry Christmas.